I know today is the last day of school for our kiddos, so there's a lot of graduations going on right now. I got a couple phone calls, but I want to welcome you all to Manatee Tiger Bay. We are so excited to be meeting back in person. We didn't care if it was 10 people, we were going to meet because we have to move on with our lives. And we have to do the things that we're supposed to do. So thank you so much. My name is Xtavia Bailey. I am the president of Manatee Tiger Bay, and thank you so much for being here today. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, we will have a prayer by Pastor Sykes with Ward Temple AME. And we usually don't do a prayer, but I just feel the spirit to just pray for us today, our whole country. So I'm excited about that, and I appreciate you just understanding that I just told you were going to do the prayer. So if you all would please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Prayer? You come up. And this is Pastor Sykes. Please welcome him as he comes and does the prayer for us today. He is with Ward Temple AME.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day that you've given us, and we thank you for the gift of life and health and strength. And we thank you for this opportunity for the Tampa Bay Club, Tiger Club. And God bless each and every officer, bless our country, keep us with our minds stayed on thee, bring unity, love, peace, and whatever we do, protect us, our law enforcement, all our first responders. We ask each and every one, and all the pastors as well. We give you all praise, honor, and glory. We ask it in the risen name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we pray. And all of God's people said, amen. Amen.
Thank you so much. I do. That was a great prayer, Pastor. We are the Manatee Tiger Bay Club. Even though he said Tampa Bay, we are a little bit competitive, but I know you'll get it next time. Sending you love. So I would like to recognize the Bradenton Mayor, Gene Brown. Please give him a round of applause. We also have Commissioner George Cruz. We also have City Councilman for Bradenton, Bill Saunders. And I don't see him, but it does say, nope, I take that back, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. Carol Postfield, just raise your hand. That is our State College of Florida leader. My husband came home the other night with a sad face. He's like, I'm retired off the board. He was looking, I was like, well, go back. He's like, no, I'm good. I think we've done a good job. But you all do a great things in our community, and thank you for your leadership and all the things that you are doing. Okay, please silence your cell phones. No animal rings, no jazz, no R&B, no rap, please. Thank you so much. And that's just to respect our speakers as they begin to speak. We all forget to do it. It's okay. Our topic today is law enforcement update, and I like to leave it open. We usually do this in January, but we're going to give our law enforcement leaders the opportunity to talk about the things that they're not doing innovatively in their individual areas, in their departments, but also what trainings are different. What about our crime? Is it going up? Is it going down? And how are we tackling it? And how they are persistent and consistent about making sure Manatee County residents are safe. First, we have Chief Melanie Bevan. She's the Bradenton Police Chief. You can go ahead and give her a round of applause now. Thank you so much for being here. We also have Chief Tyler Scott. He is with the Palmetto Police Department. And we also have our Sheriff Rick Wells from the Manatee County Sheriff Department. I'm going to read a couple of the bios, which I usually don't do this, but I think it's important just to give you a little bit of information. And so we shorten it down. We know they've done a lot of things, but we wanted to make sure you had an introduction of who our speakers were today. Chief Melanie Bevan, Bradenton Police Department. Melanie Bevan became the chief of Bradenton Police Department in February of 2016. The agency has combined, sworn, and civilian strength of 150 personnel serving a community of approximately 54,000 citizens. Prior to this, she served the St. Petersburg Police Department for 29 years, retiring at the rank of assistant chief at the time of her selection. Since arriving in Bradenton, she has introduced a host of safety measures, community engagement, protocols, and leadership trainings, which illustrate her macro-level orientation, community centricity, and commitment to being a strong advocate for newer and better ways of policing within the city of Bradenton and leadership development within the agency. Thank you so much, Chief Bevan. You're up first. Come on down.
Thank you, Octavia, and I deserve that look, Sheriff. I'm not sure where they got that. That is a little bit old. It's great to be here today with you all. I'm sure I speak for all of us that we appreciate the fact that, foremost, you want to hear what we have to say, and secondly, that we can actually do so in person now without a mask over our face and look out at all these beautiful faces. I had the honor of listening to Sheriff Wells speak yesterday at the Law Day luncheon, and I'm pleased to have done so because what I did while he was speaking was write everything down, and I told him that if I went first today, and Octavia always knows it's ladies first, I always get it to the front of the lines at all the police functions when I say that. I said, I'm going to say everything that you just said, and so when you get up, you're going to have nothing to say. What we're going to try to do, we all pretty much have probably the same types of messages we want to share with you. And so we're going to try to break it up a little bit. I think for the most part, y'all know how our departments are comprised, how they're laid out. So I'm going to make it a point just to talk to you about some new initiatives we're undertaking right now. And how much time do we have?
We have introduction of 6 minutes.
Oh, okay. So thanks for having, no, anyway. It's been a tough year in law enforcement, and I don't know that I need to tell any of y'all why. From the protest that we saw all over the country, and the city's unfortunate to have undergone riots and a lot of significant issues in their cities, to COVID, it's really just been uncharted territory for all of us. When discussing COVID at our agency, I know that we kind of had to learn on the fly and best practices, and I will tell you that as a county, as a regional organization, I think we all came together well, getting on conference calls daily, listening to the county actually did a great job of spearheading responses and how we should deal with things. We actually just in the city and PD opened up our doors, I think just 2 weeks ago, right, Mayor? And I think it was the right decision for us. We instituted some protocols when it came to mask wear and protective gear, and all in all, we fared pretty well. From my officers' perspectives, I'll tell you that we had some very sad incidents. I had one officer who actually lost both of his parents to COVID within, 3 hours of each other, and just really a sad state of affairs. And you have to be aware of that, because that is a mindset that my folks have to deal with. They have to deal with not only having to face violence and the things that go along with being a police officer, but also that hidden threat. We also dealt with, obviously, a lot of change to policing, and we're still seeing that today. I think as a whole, we responded quite well. What you all saw in other parts of the country, you simply didn't see here. And I will tell you that wasn't by accident. It was by design, and we all kind of subscribe to we really need to put constantly into the bank of community and make sure that our community knows that we work with them, we are here for them, and we are a team. And so when incidents like that happen, it doesn't become an adversarial situation for us. We come together and we explore how we can make changes and evolve with each other and not face off against each other. And I really, truly believe that all of your agencies throughout Manatee County showed you that we had taken the time and effort years before to invest well in that, and we didn't see some of those problems. A lot of us had a lot of varied responses, but I think in the end, what you see now is more specific training. You see a greater use of communication skills. We like to compete all the time with our social media accounts, and it's really no competition because we put something out and then the sheriff's office copies it. I mean, that just kind of goes. It is. But I will tell you, I'm pleased. We, as a police department, when I first came here, I was working under Mayor Poston. We had a change of leadership this year, and I'm working now for Mayor Jean Brown, and one of my councilmen is here too. And I'll tell you, we're able to do what we do at the police department because of the support of not only our community, but our public officials who recognize that funding is necessary, that support is necessary, and that we're all in this together to keep our city safe. And so I won't go over my time. I think I'm already getting the kick. I'm happy to answer some questions later, but thanks again for having us here.
Thank you so much, Chief Bevan. Next, we have Chief Scott Tyler. I didn't do the bios, so I just want to make sure we adjust it a little bit. Chief Tyler has been a resident of Manatee County since 1982 and began his service with the Palmetto Police Department in 1995. He rose through the ranks at the department and held virtually every position, including patrol officer, patrol supervisor, school resource officer, and community policing and crime prevention, detective sergeant, and deputy chief of police. He became the chief of police in March of 2015. I also would like to say, since he's became the chief, he has been out there making sure he is partnering with the community, supporting the things that they need to do. Anytime that you call on Chief Tyler, he is there to support. It doesn't matter if he agrees or doesn't agree, he's going to be there to support because that is his duty. And we appreciate what you do. We appreciate your support and the protection for Palmetto City. Thank you so much. And next, you're up.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Xavier. And first, a little bit about the Palmetto Police Department, a little bit about the city of Palmetto. We're a city of about 15,000 residents, 7 square miles, located right across the river. We're a very old city, a very old community, and what I've come to realize since I began working at the city of Palmetto, and I've chose now to live both in the city of Palmetto, and I've not built a new house, but I promised that I'd stay very close to the city of Palmetto where that was. So one thing I've realized about the North River community and the Palmetto community is how tight-knit it is and how tradition-based it is. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think we can say that for a lot of parts of Manatee County. It's all about community. And I believe that, and I believe in community partnerships. And, you know, to echo a lot of what Chief Bevan said, I believe that that's why we didn't see a lot of what we saw in other parts of the county here in Palmetto is, you know, we don't always have to agree, but there is a respect, there are open lines of communication, and I don't feel that I think that people in Manatee County understand that they have relationships with law enforcement and that they can have a conversation with law enforcement about the type of policing that they want to receive. So another thing that I think is really important for all of you to know is here in Manatee County, we have a very unique relationship. You know, sometimes we kid each other and we joke and, you know, we do copy each other's social media websites, but, okay. But we have extremely close working relationships. The uniforms may be a different color, the patches may be different, but it is really seamless. And on a regular basis, I'm on the phone with Chief Bevan, Sheriff Wells, Chief Tokager, and our other law enforcement colleagues throughout Manatee County. If a piece of information comes into the Palmetto Police Department, it's immediately shared with our other law enforcement partners. And that's not only convenient, but that's by design. The whole thing about information sharing and threat assessment is making sure that we all know and we all react in a common, planned, measured way. The other thing is resources, sharing resources. At the Palmetto Police Department, we have 34 sworn officers, including myself and my 2 assistant chiefs. That's not a lot, and especially where our population is growing. But I know I have only to call Chief Bevan and Sheriff Wells, and you know, through mutual aid and through that spirit of cooperation, whatever assets I don't have, I immediately have at my disposal from their agencies. And you know, that's really unique for all of you as Manatee County residents, business people, taxpayers, that you have that. In many areas of Florida, many areas close by, you don't have that kind of tight working relationship. So, you know, as Chief Bevan said, last year was an extremely difficult year for law enforcement. First of all, again, COVID. We all probably know, whether it's our family or whether it's close friends, people that have been affected by COVID. I know myself, I've had several family members that were quite sick with it. I've had several family members that had it and were blessed and they weren't really sick at all. I've lost close friends to the disease. And it's interesting, starting about November of last year, November through March, COVID really ravaged the ranks at the Palmetto Police Department, both in our dispatch and you know, out with our uniformed people and our detectives. At one point, we're about as critically short-staffed as we could possibly be and still effectively respond. But we got through it. Just like many parts of the community, we endured it. You know, there's a lot of debate out there about, and I know we all have our personal feelings about COVID and vaccines and things like that, but I think we can all agree COVID is real. And it devastated a lot of our families, it devastated our community. We have an officer now that contracted COVID in November and he's still on light duty. And although he's expected to make a full recovery, it's been slow. And we have walked that process with him. So here we are, we're on the other side. You know, what we all saw and we're all horrified about with the murder of George Floyd and what happened with the conversation about race and criminal justice reform in this country and what that looks like. I can tell you that what happened in Minneapolis, it was illegal, it was against policy, it was against training, and I'm pretty sure that it was against training and policy in Minneapolis, what that officer did. We all looked as things unfolded, as we do with any controversial police action that takes place across the country. We all look to our policies, we all look to our training, we talk to each other. We're all heavily invested in our local police academy, and we look to that. We have extremely professional and progressive training here in Florida. We probably have one of the best core police training programs in the country here in Florida. A lot of what we saw with criminal justice reform, we already had in place in Florida and within our agencies. Things about use of force, duty to intervene, policies about chokeholds and other forms of restraint techniques, they're already in place. We already do training. De-escalation, we're already doing that in Florida and here in Manatee County at our agencies and at our academy. But because of what we saw, we re-emphasize that. I can tell you at the Palmetto Police Department, we brought in 2 different de-escalation programs. One of them is called verbal judo. We put all of our, not only our police officers and our detectives, but we actually put our dispatchers and our crossing guards through it because they interact with the public every day. That's just what we do because we recognize our responsibility to the community. We still look for innovative ways to bring training. We have kind of semi-formal discussions when we have a police use of force incident across the country. My deputy chiefs and I go throughout the agency and we discuss it. Our officers, I know because when I hire them, I have a conversation with them about how much we care about our community, what service-led policing is, and how I expect them to react to the community. COVID did kind of back us off a little bit on a lot of our public interactions because we're trying to minimize the potential for exposure while maintaining public safety and maintaining our service to the community. But we're looking to come back and re-engage, but that doesn't mean that the men and women of the Palmetto Police Department or the Brandon Police Department, the Manatee County Sheriff's Office aren't every day going out there and practicing community policing. They are in every interaction every day. And I'll maybe leave on this. We talk about a lot of what we're seeing across the country, and you've seen a call for body cameras to increase police transparency. And in Manatee County, we're all about that. The Brandon Police Department, the Sheriff's Office have already deployed body camera systems. We are in the process of narrowing down. I'm down to 2 different vendors, and once we get that resolved, we'll be deploying them. And I'd like to speak for other chiefs, but I know the Holmes Beach Police Department is also in the process of deploying body cameras. And the interesting thing about body cameras is we know from studies across the country, even pre-George Floyd, pre-2020, that body cameras have some interesting after effects. Transparency, yes, but agencies with, oh, is that my timer?
That's your timer.
Okay, I'll wrap it up really quick. We know that body cameras seem to, with studies, reduce incidents of police use of force, but let's face it, sometimes policing, we deal with violent individuals. And the other thing that police use of force, it cuts down on both citizen complaints and sustained complaints against police officers. Here again, transparency. And I know that we have, at the Palmetto Police Department, we have video cameras in every one of our marked patrol vehicles. We had them for many years. And I can't tell you how many citizen complaints that I can invalidate just by the car cameras and the remote microphone on the officer's belt that come in that just simply aren't true. And I know body cameras are just going to increase that. So with that, thank you very much.
I do want to say Chief Tokacher is usually here with us. He was not able to make it today, so I don't want to count him out because he usually joins and talks about what goes on the beach. But thank you so much, Chief Tyler, for your presentation. You have an opportunity to speak a little bit more in depth on some of the things that you did mention. Next, we have Sheriff Wick Wells with the Manatee County Sheriff Department. Sheriff Wick Wells was sworn in as Sheriff of Manatee County January 3rd, 2017. He was Palmetto Police Department's police chief from 2010 to 2015, and also spent 21 years at Florida Highway Patrol, where he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. Sheriff Wells has spent over 31 years in law enforcement. And just to elaborate a little bit about Sheriff Wells, I have worked with him for a very long time. He is one of those people that will plan to arrest you and pray for you. So he's not worried. He believes in his badge, but he also believes in fairness. He also believes in sitting down and having conversations, as the other chiefs do that are sitting on this panel. He also believes in moving forward and doing what's right and justice for everyone in our community, not just, and that's what I'm so proud of with these law enforcement officers, because when we did the walk over the bridge, not only did I have one of these officers, these chiefs, One walked me into Palmetto, and the other one took me as I came into Palmetto. And Sheriff had some of his people there too. And this wasn't about black and white. This was about that there's some issues going on, and we have to address them and move forward. And we support you, and you support us. It had nothing to do with you against me or me against you. It was about change. And I was so proud that day to see our law enforcement stand with the community. Also, we did have Mayor Brown also and Mr. Cruz. We had a lot of people out there that was supporting us, including Bill Saunders also, councilman. And we came together that day. So next we'll have up Sheriff Wells. You have 6 minutes. Or you'll get the dinger.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It really is. It's been a long year, as you've heard already several times today. I am, without a doubt, the king of Zoom. I am a Zoom prodigy. I can Zoom anywhere, any day. So Zoom has become our friend. So getting back in front of the public and being able to talk to everyone has been a joy. So one thing about COVID, and we've all talked in exhaustion about COVID, but law enforcement never changed. These law enforcement officers, these deputies out here, they could not always, say time out, let me put a mask on, let me put my gloves on. When you have to react, you have to react. So they were constantly having to put themselves in danger because you don't always have the luxury of just standing back and making sure that you can stay 6 feet away from someone that is about to become violent or that is already violent, and you got to take action. So we had about 437 deputies throughout the year that were exposed and contracted COVID. So we were able to work around that. The biggest issue that we had to pay attention to was the jail. As you know, I control the jail. We have anywhere between 900 and 1,036 inmates, depending on what's happening in the community. So we had to make sure they were safe. So we had to change the protocol as officers brought an arrestee into the jail. We had to make sure they were screened properly there. And if they did have signs of COVID, we have 8 special cells that we were able to put them in and get them evaluated and get them the medical attention that they needed. So we haven't had a large outbreak in the jail. I'm very thankful for that, but everything had to change, and we still have those protocols in place. And every inmate was allowed to, wear a mask. They have been offered the vaccine. Every inmate at the jail that wanted a vaccine or wants a vaccine has been able to receive it. And it was kind of, the jail is kind of a reflection of the population. It was only about 3% of those that were in the jail that really wanted the vaccine. I thought more may want it, but they did not. And, so, they are leery to take this vaccine like so many in our community, but we were able to vaccinate as many as wanted it. So we had a good year. We had a decrease in crime last year, just because all of us had restrictions, and we were, locked down in our homes at times. Just so you know, the criminals did not obey those restrictions. I don't want you to think they continued to violate the governor's executive order. They broke into vehicles. They shot at each other. So we had to respond to all those crimes, but we were able to keep crime down. I'll tell you that that's becoming more and more difficult every year for all of us. As you know, you're always working against last year's numbers, but hey, this is not Manatee County 1980 anymore. This is not Mayberry PD. This is not the Manatee County I grew up in. We have 411,000 people here. We got homes being built every day. We have people wanting to move here because it's a great place to live and raise your family. But with that comes crime. But I know I can speak for all of us that we are working very hard to keep that crime down. The biggest issue that we have right now in Manatee County is juvenile crime. Juveniles are out of control. They are breaking into cars every night. They are stealing cars. We have groups that come from St. Pete. They steal cars in St. Pete. They come to Manatee County. They break into cars here. They steal a car in Manatee County. They take it back to St. Pete. We work very tight with the St. Pete PD and also, the local agencies. But, we had to spend a lot of time trying to keep them from coming into Manatee County and committing crime. I mean, and I'm like, I tell St. Pete PD, we have enough criminals in Manatee County. We don't need St. Pete criminals too. So we gotta work together here and try to, and with juveniles, you want to help them. You want to help them as much as you possibly can. You don't want to put them into juvenile detention. Unfortunately, we just arrested 5 young men last night. And every single one of them had 2 or more stolen vehicle arrests on their record already. Because a juvenile is only going to spend 21 days locked up in juvenile detention, and then they're coming out. So, but what are we doing with them once they come out? Who's mentoring them when they come out? I was blessed to have great parents, like so many of you in this room. I had mentors, I had teachers, I had after-school programs, but I had people always watching me. And the village was definitely in the Wells neighborhood when I was growing up, because I could not do anything without someone telling my parents. We've lost that, so no one is paying attention to what's going on. So, I, like Xavier, I've been working with Xavier for a long time, and I've been working with people in our community that want to help juveniles. A great group called Replay Outreach. They're dealing with juveniles that have been in trouble before. We're trying to keep them out of trouble. Strength in Action, Mount Carmel Resource Center. There are a lot of groups trying to help our juvenile population, but we really need more involvement from other organizations, and that's what I see as an issue right now that we're not really touching. And I don't know what we have to do as a community to make sure that we can to save these young men and women, because it's out of control, and if we don't do something soon, they're going to be in the prison system, and that's really the last thing that we want. So I would just remind you that it's very important to remove your personal belongings out of your car. I say it every time I talk to you, and I will say it every time I see you. Lock your doors. If you could, take your guns out of your car. You want to know where stolen guns go? Back into our community, being used to commit crimes right here. Take your wallets, take your purses, take your laptops, all, and lock your door. Please don't leave your keys in there. I know that sounds funny, but every single week we have a car stolen with the keys left in it. Tell your friends, neighbors, anybody that you can to make sure that they do the same. We are here to answer any questions that you have. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be here. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. And then you had a minute left, so I appreciate that. Buzzer didn't have to get you. I want to also recognize David Valor. He's with Tommy Gregory's office. Please raise your hand. We have a representative here. Thank you for representing. Also, we're going to have questioning. I'm going to start off the questions. And so to ask a question, you must be a member of the Manatee Tiger Bay. I have waived this, but please do not abuse it, or we will mute them, right? That's what we do. If you see me doing like this, this is because COVID last year, we had a lot of things going on. So we had people that were members, and we really didn't have a lot of meetings. So we really want to make sure we're being fair to our members. Give us your name and when you're going to become a member. State your question and to which speaker you want to direct your question to. You are allowed 30 seconds to ask the question. You may stand there until they're done, I don't mind, but please do not elaborate back and forth, okay? This is not a conversation. We want them to ask the question, answer your question, and then you're supposed to, either you can stay there, but don't go back and talking back and forth, okay? Okay, so really quick, I do want to start off with the first questions, especially about the incidents that we had with the racial intolerance and things that was going on throughout the communities. So we talked about, I think it's called defunding the police. I like to say reform, doing something else. So I would like to talk about the training and things like that. One thing I do when I talk about this is imagine a police officer going to a call. And the call is for a husband who has his wife and his kids, and he's about to kill them and commit suicide. The officer goes to this particular call, right? And he goes and he does what he's supposed to do, he or she, and then they have to leave. And they may get another call, and another call, and another call. So my question is not to excuse an officer's bad behavior, because all the officers, the chiefs, the sheriff, had told you that there's specific training that they're supposed to be doing. But what do we do when they need mental health also? Is there a way, would you support being able to provide mental health support, maybe anonymous, where our officers can go and speak to someone if they need to speak to someone? I'm not sure how it works now, but I would love to hear you all. In the agencies, okay? So I would like to hear, would you support that, or what do you have now? Do they have to ask for this help, or can they just go anonymous? Because some officers say that it's not a good thing to say that they need help, because they may feel like they can't do the job, and that's not what it is. They just want to talk about what they've been going through while they're on the job. If you have a question, you may come to the microphone.
I'll go ahead and answer that because I didn't talk nearly as long as these two. They went way over their time. What I will tell you, and I don't say this to cause concern, is in my discussions with Centerstone, who host our employee assistant program, is that, and she's seeing it across the nation, is that law enforcement, mental health concerns are up. There's greater incidence of suicide right now, greater incidence of outreach, of them seeking help. I say that not to worry you all that we have officers out there who are struggling. What I think we're seeing is that we are doing anything and everything we can almost daily since last year to, and particularly the leaders, because we've been told by our national groups, you need to do this, is to get in there and say, listen, if you're struggling, if you're suffering, ask for help. We understand what you're going through. We understand that, a lot of these things may be impacting you in ways we don't even understand, so please seek some resources. Here in Manatee County, we all have an employee assistance program. Recently, I will tell you, in the city of Bradenton, we have even gone outside our employee assistance program. We've found some off-site residential treatment facilities that we make available for our folks. We also have worked with our local insurance company. If they're hesitant to go to the employee assistance program because they think somehow, some way, we're all going to find out about it, they can deal directly with their providers, and we have waived their co-payment, because believe it or not, asking them to pay $50 when they don't make a lot of money matters. It might take food off their table. We have increased our wellness insofar as physical fitness. In fact, the mayor is supporting, and the councilman Sanders doesn't know that he's going to support it, but I'm sure he will. Us getting some equipment outdoors. We learned during COVID, when I shut off the gym, that really had a devastating effect on my folks. And so you saw them out in the parking lot flipping tires and doing everything they could. We're going to try to install a couple little outdoor pieces of equipment to give them an opportunity to remain healthy and do it outdoors in the sun where it's just a healthy environment. But I'll tell you, we are on top of that. We understand what's happening throughout the nation with law enforcement, and we are doing anything and everything we can to keep them mentally and physically fit, because we realize what can happen if they're not, right? We know who pays if they're not, so.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to answer the question? You want to answer this? She did her thing.
Yeah, the only thing, I think Chief Bevan did an excellent job on that, and, we all mirror that. One thing, though, I want to emphasize the fact that we have systems in place where we make sure that our people know the resources they have available to them, but it is completely anonymous. I don't know who takes advantage of these resources. I never get any feedback from the practitioner. It is completely anonymous. We don't know. We have no way to find out. And, because we know how important that is for somebody that might be seeking help, so.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Liv Coleman, and I have a question specifically for Manatee Sheriff Wells, but for anyone on the panel here, about excessive police use of force. And the question is, I want to thank everybody for their strong statements today about the murder of George Floyd and the practices that were used at the time, as well as their statements a year ago. I remember there were really strong statements at that time, too, and I'm really appreciative of that. I just had a policy question, though, about if one of the things we saw at the Derek Chauvin trial is that it was so powerful to see other officers actually holding the Derek Chauvin to account and saying this was an excessive use of force. And I was wondering if there are policies in place to require, if an officer sees excessive use of force, that they have to report it from a fellow officer. Thanks.
Great question.
Yeah, great question, and absolutely, that's always been a part of our policy, which has been strengthened as a result of the horrific homicide that we all witnessed, because it's very important for officers to understand that they are a mandatory reporter and that they must report any use of force that they see to their supervisor. So we have never had an issue that we know of where that hasn't taken place. Has it taken place? Maybe. But we have implemented 442 body cams as of October, and every body cam is rolling at any time that officer gets out of the car. What they do know now, if they didn't know it before, that they are subject to termination as well if they do not report another deputy using a use of force. And we've had cases reported already, and I tell you, it's very important for them to do so. And I think that if in this day and age, I think that these young deputies, these young officers, I think they get it. I think they understand that. I think they understand the importance of that. There is no one that's going to be penalized for doing their job, and that if that means that they have to report another deputy, that is doing their job. So thank you for the question.
I just want to make a comment because I think that's a great question. I'm sure much like these two, when that incident happened, I immediately looked at my policy and I said, please tell me that we have everything covered in here. We had just rewritten our policy a year ago, and I'll tell you, we were on top of our game with that. We had to do a public records submission, and even the Bradenton Herald was like, wow, y'all have pretty much everything covered. And while we did have some language in there that spoke of reporting officer misconduct, we didn't have those specific words that said duty to intervene. I will tell you that in 3 days of that incident happening, those words went into my policy. Sometimes we don't, we assume, well, why do you have to put in something so basic in a policy, right? That's like, get up in the morning and brush your teeth. But sometimes you do, because it's important that your folks, your community understands what you require and the expectations you have. And I'll tell you, we came out with our 8 Can't Wait within the first week and made it very clear, and conducted training with all of our officers the very first week this happened to ensure that this couldn't happen here. So great question. And yes, if you all are familiar with, it's not House bill, it's House, I don't know which House bill it is. I don't know that it's been signed yet. But it includes really the 8 Can't Wait. You can go back through our social media and find it. And all the things that we've all heard about, no chokeholds, duty to intervene, de-escalation training as a requirement. And these are things that the state of Florida, the governor, the legislature just put that through we all support that. I know the Florida Police Chiefs Association supported all of these changes. I know the Florida Sheriff's Association supported all of these changes. And so it goes back to what, I'm not sure which one said, here in the state of Florida, we're on top of our game when it comes to this stuff. And we were before this crisis happened last year. We were doing these things.
Thank you so much. I think it's very important to make sure that we continue to have conversations like this so the community knows what is going on and what the policies are. If you're not involved or actually there, we don't know the policies. We don't know what is going on. So I think it's very important to make sure that's clear. So thank you so much for your answer. Next.
Alice Newland, League of Women Voters, and a member. Misty Servia, in the paper today, wrote about homeless outreach teams and made a request for more staffing for that. So I'd like to address that issue, what that would provide, and whether or not there's going to be an increase in staffing for homeless outreach team.
Thank you. We actually, for the first time at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, we brought on a specialty deputy that does nothing but homeless outreach. Her name is Deputy Joy Jewett. She is an awesome deputy, and her job is to go out to these camps and to these locations where so many of our homeless sleep at night and where they live, and try to do everything we can, not only to provide them with services, but is there anything that we can do to help get them out of that current situation and get them into some type of housing? As you know, that's very difficult to find, housing for some of these men and women that don't have jobs and don't have any services or any way to get finances. But she's been a big part, and we're going to increase that, hopefully, by one, this up and coming budget, Commissioner Cruz. But we're gonna make it happen. And realistically, we probably need about 4 or 5 deputies that are out there. And even if we can't get them out of that location because for some reason they don't want to go into permanent homes, I think, and we were just talking earlier, it's important for us to bring the services to them. Medical, whatever, just to try to help them as much as we can. And, Centerstone, they come out with us from time to time, and we're just trying to meet the needs of the homeless population. And as you know, it continues to increase each and every week. We see more and more camps going up, and, I'm just not about trespassing them, and then when they go back, putting them in jail. Does no good. We're trying to put them in locations where they can at least remain safe and not be disturbed all the time. So that's the goal.
Certainly, the issue of homelessness is coming to our attention, and we seem to have more and more homeless or nearly homeless people in our community every day. The Palmetto Police Department simply doesn't have the staffing to create a homeless outreach team, but what we do know, or what we do is I would argue that every one of our police officers is a homeless outreach officer. So first of all, something we do, and I know the other agencies do this too, is we get our police officers as much extra training in dealing with people that may be in a unique circumstance or we have behavioral or mental health issues. A lot of times we call it CIT training, but it's something that within 3 years of employment, all of my officers will go through that training. We also partner with Centerstone and meet a couple of times a year with them. In fact, we're going to be meeting with Enrique next week, and we just kind of touch base on a regular basis and just kind of talk about what's going on in Palmetto, where people are living. And I think we empirically know, but you'd be surprised at where somebody can live. They're very resourceful people. They can live under a palmetto tree, and you never know they're there. Addiction and mental health play into homelessness. And a lot of these folks, you think, well, if you give them a place to go, they're going to go. A lot of them, they don't want to, and there are a lot of reasons for that. So we work very hard. All of our officers work very hard. When Center Stone comes out, it always amazes them that our officers know where a lot of these people live. They check on them. So, here again, I think every police officer or deputy in Manatee County is a homeless outreach professional.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. I know my store is on 26th Street, and they usually sit on the side, and I'm like, here's some water, baby, you got to go, though. But at least I'll give them some water, but it would be good to see some citizens also join that team, because I don't think you guys are going to be able to do it by yourself.
Thank you very much. David Ballard. Now, I don't know how many homeless people are in Manatee County, but I do know that there were 33,000 children removed from their homes in the state of Florida last year. Manatee County is especially situated, in which the Sheriff's Office runs the Child Protective Services. Sheriff Wells, would you mind touching on the specific challenges with children not being in school within your department? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'll tell you, there's really two different answers here. So the biggest issue that we've had with removals in really the last 2 to 3 years has been drug abuse. It's been Oxycontin, and then now it's become fentanyl. And that's been a huge problem with us. I mean, the last thing we want to do is remove a child from their family, but we have been forced to so many different times because they're not taking care of the child. As you know, once we remove the child, they go into the possession of the Safe Children's Coalition, and then they try to find foster parents for these kids. And it's a huge challenge. We don't have enough foster parents throughout the Manatee, Sarasota area, and we're always trying to reunite. We want the children back with the parents, but drug abuse is the #1 issue right now, and we continue to fight. Well, and what was the second part of your question? Was there another part of that?
No, sir.
I think I had a second part, but I can't remember what the second part was. I was going to say something.
It was just glad handing you.
What was that? Yeah. I will tell you that because of a bill that was passed by Congress, the Family First Act, that bill took funding away from the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranches. Okay, right, right, and because of that, they no longer can receive children because residential type housing is really not looked upon in a positive way, and I would tell you that is a big mistake, a huge mistake. So what we did here in Manatee County is that we tried to take siblings that were removed from homes. I want you to think about this. A brother and a sister are removed from their family, and now they are separated and go to different foster parents. And we were able to take those siblings and put them at the youth ranch, caring, compassionate cottage parents who looked after them, who helped them with their homework and schoolwork. These were great people. And unfortunately, it took the funding away from the youth ranches. They would not allow the Safe Children's Coalition to give those kids to them. So that's where we're at right now. So if you know anyone that wants to be a foster parent, please encourage them to do so, because we have a lot of kids out there looking for homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next.
Hello, I'm Kay White, I'm a member. And you've talked about how stretched your departments are, and I think everyone here is concerned about the good work that you do and how we can help. And I just spoke earlier with the chief. Do you have volunteer programs in each of your units? And if so, how do we contact, or who are those people to contact so that people here who care can volunteer? Thank you.
I'll just speak for the Sheriff's Office. I think we all have volunteers. We have a very, just a great volunteer group at the Sheriff's Office. If you can go back and look at this tape, I'll give you the number right now. It's, because I'm not going to let this go by, 747-3011, extension 2508, or 2222. I would tell you that we love volunteers. They do so much for the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. They save us well over $100,000 every year just because of the work that they do in a volunteer role that allows those that are working full time to do other duties and responsibilities. So we're always looking for good volunteers. I know that both of the chiefs are as well. So thank you for that. Come see me.
Yeah, I couldn't let him leave that. So for the viewing audience, just call me. Call the chief. I will take your call personally if you want to come be a volunteer for the Bradenton Police Department. We spoke earlier. We do have a healthy cadre of volunteers. We have 18. I think last year they logged over 4,000 hours. We couldn't do it without them. I will tell you, since I'm getting a commercial plug here, it's not a volunteer activity. It's actually paid, but we are in dire straits, particularly not right today because school has ended, but for crossing guards. And let me tell you something. I've got a crossing guard, believe it or not. He is 82 years old, and he's been doing it for 30 years. Doesn't pay a lot. But if you all have any folks in your neighborhoods, it's a couple hours in the morning, it's a couple hours in the afternoon. We're very short, and when we're short crossing guards, what we got to do, we got to put police officers out there. But if you think about a way you want to help, and I think they're probably all in the same boat, and it's such an incredibly important role because they're out there interacting with our children each and every day, and oftentimes they're the eyes and ears. They're the ones who see these kids right when they leave their home to make sure they're quite right, to see if they're tidy, if it looks like they've had a meal. And so anybody interested, once again, call me. I'll take your call personally. I won't pawn you off to somebody else, like the sheriff.
Chief Tyler, you got to say something.
I'm not going to miss this opportunity either. This is great. Thank you for asking the question. And ditto, call me. And we are also looking for a crossing guard. So, if you're interested, and we're looking for a dispatcher too. So, if you're interested, give me a call. But please, yes, volunteers are very important to all our agencies. They're a force multiplier. They save you as taxpayers money, and it's also gratifying work. So, please reach out to us. Call me personally. Of course, there's not many people at the police department, so you get me anyway.
That's a good argument.
Hi, thank you for being here today. Nancy Sanders, board member for Tiger Bay. My question kind of builds on the last question with what can we do for you if we are supporters of first responders. And I know I spoke to a couple of you before, and I think two of you, maybe all three of you, have foundations. Could you speak to the foundations that your departments have and tell us what we can do to contribute to that foundation and let us know what you need? Thank you.
30 seconds, please. Each. Oh, go ahead.
I got it quick. Did you see that? Thanks for that question. You and I spoke earlier. We do have a foundation that supports the Bradenton Police Department. It's called the Bradenton Blue Foundation. They have their own Facebook page. They have their own web page. We actually assisted with a shred event in our parking lot just the other day. I know that the sheriff, and I'm not sure about Scott, has one as well. But this isn't the ask up here. More so, it's, please take the time to check out our foundations and see what they do. It's not just about things for us. A lot of what the foundation, Bradenton Blue Foundation, does is community outreach. At least half the money that they raise goes towards community-based programs, police and community members, particularly with the kids. And so all of our foundations, I'd say it doesn't matter who you give it to. It really doesn't. As long as it gets poured back into the community, that's a good thing, and it helps law enforcement as well.
I don't have an official foundation, but we do have several projects throughout the year that we invite community involvement, both just participating personally and also financially. So if you feel led to, please call me about that. But as far as the question, what can you do for law enforcement? There's some very simple things that you can do that don't cost any money. When you see a police officer, deputy, emergency service worker, just let them know that you appreciate what you do. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, because that means a tremendous amount to our officers. One of the things that we all fight against within our organizations is when you flip on your internet and see your internet news page or flip on the news, all you hear about are negative interactions with officers across the country, what officers are doing wrong, police officers are the problem, and, criminal justice reform is very real. But sometimes we all fight making sure that our officers and deputies don't have a we versus they mentality. So by you just taking the time to say, hey, thank you, we appreciate what you're doing, I can tell you from talking to my officers, it means a great deal to them. So.
Thank you so much. Next.
Hi, Bill Woodson, New College of Florida, and a member. And my question is, I guess, more of a conceptual question. So if you want to share your personal perspective or your department's perspective, I'm interested in that as well. But departments around the country are saying, yes, we want to be progressive, we want to be focused on community policing. When the topic of, or the question comes up, are you willing to commit your organization to being an anti-racist organization? That seems to choke people up a little bit. And I'm just wondering, again, from a conceptual standpoint, when you hear that request from the community, speaking kind of more broadly, what is your sense of why that might be a problematic commitment to ask for? Thank you.
I already know these answers, but go ahead, guys.
I'll take a stab at this because, I guess, first of all, as a police chief, why would I not want to make a commitment that my police department is not a racist organization? I guess it's as simple as that. I don't think that you're going to get any pushback from any of us here in Manatee County. We are, first of all, we are committed to service-led policing, community policing. We recognize that. We push that on our people. And I don't think you're going to get any objection or pushback here.
You all agree with him?
I think we all agree with him, and I'll tell you that whereas I always am striving to increase our ranks from a diversity standpoint, I think we're doing pretty well in this region, both from diversity, I tell the story coming up in St. Pete for 29 years. It took about 25 years for them to finally have to move an old tattered couch out of the locker room to make room for a new bank of lockers for the women, because we finally had gone past from when I came on and started hiring up into the double digits, and that was nice to see. And I will tell you, in all my days in policing, the Bradenton Police Department right now has 18% females, and I've never seen that in all my years. And I will tell you that our diversity, we're about 18%, non-Caucasian, and be it Asian, African American. I think we bring a lot. We bring a pretty good melting pot into this community. I know the sheriff's diversity ranks are even a little bit better than mine. His are good too, and we're always looking to increase that, because I think that goes back to the question you pose. We want to present ourselves as a very open agency that is just an open agency that is here to police our community, and we want to look like our community. So.
I don't think anyone's ever going to have a problem answering that question, because we have worked so hard for as long as I've been in law enforcement, as a law enforcement community, to reflect the community that we work in. I kind of understand your question, but I kind of do not. I don't know who would be took up about that. I don't know how any law enforcement agency would not automatically subscribe to that philosophy, because that's what we've always been about. I can tell you that we work very hard to recruit the entire diversity of our community. We're 9.2% African American in Manatee County. I think it's about 11.5% in Hispanic. In the last 5 years, 28% of the recruits that we have hired have been minority. I'm at 12.3% on African American. It's very difficult to hire anyone right now, and not because of the culture, because of the lifestyle of these young recruits. So they just come from a different mindset that the older population, not you, Scott, but But what I mean is they just don't have any life experience. You know, so we go to get 10 or 11 good quality law enforcement recruits. We have to go through about 212, 214 just to get that small group. So I appreciate your question. And if there's a law enforcement agency and anywhere in this nation that has a problem answering that question, then we already know what the problems are. Thank you.
This will be our last question.
All right, thank you, Steve Vernon. I'm a member on the board. I want to thank you for everything you do, and thank you for coming. My question is funding. Are you getting enough funding from your municipalities, the county, with regards to filling all your positions?
Ooh. Move so they can see George. There you go.
Sounds like a plan question.
All right, make sure we can see everybody. Okay.
I'm going to speak on the county side, and I can't say anything about Commissioner Cruz because he hasn't had the joy of seeing me in front of him yet with my budget. But I can guarantee you that he is all about funding the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, and we're going to have negotiations, and we're going to have to, you know, we compromise because it's the right thing to do. But I have never had an issue with the county commissioners not funding my budget properly. But, you know, we do, and I understand the fact that public safety takes up a huge chunk of that pie that the county dishes out to us. So we continue to be responsible with our requests. So, in fact, I have a 7 a.m. meeting tomorrow morning with Dr. Hopes to discuss the budget and to make sure we're on the same page, and then we'll be going in front of the county commissioners here in just a few weeks. But I've been very blessed, have not had any issues. And it's difficult. This county continues to grow faster than, you know, our budget meetings, right? So we're always trying to catch up for that next year. But I do appreciate what the commissioners have done for the sheriff's office. Thank you.
I'd like to answer. You guys, yes, no.
Well, speaking for the city of Palmetto, I mean, I'd echo my experience is similar to the sheriff's with our mayor and our commission and our community. They've always, you might say 15,000 people, 7 square miles. Why not, you know, just go ahead and contract services out? And our citizens and our businesses in Palmetto have said over and over again throughout the years that no, we want our own city, want our own city services. Wages have lagged with the Palmetto Police Department and with other positions in the city of Palmetto when compared to, you know, basically our market, other competing entities for some time. This is something that I went to our mayor and our commission about, and they've made some great strides over the last 2 budget cycles. And I have every expectation that we're going to do a little bit more this budget cycle to have fixed that. So, you know, I really have to applaud again our community, our commission, and, you know, our mayor for recognizing that. You know, and I guess I'm not trying to go way outside of your question, but, you know, I can certainly, you know, speak for the city of Palmetto. There's never been any discussion, nor there's just no impetus for anything defunding the police. You know, if anything, I work very hard to make our ad valorem dollars go further in the Palmetto Police Department. I think we're very innovative to do more with less, but you know, I can say that there's been no talk of defunding. They do their best to support us.
And my boss and somebody who decides on my budget sitting here, so obviously I'm going to have to speak. Here's what I will say. Policing is getting more expensive and will continue to get more expensive. Not only, and you're actually seeing, if you look nationally, a lot of the larger cities who defunded their departments, I don't know, I read the Wall Street Journal regularly, they're pouring cash back into them right now. But when I became a police officer 34 years ago, they handed me basically a gun and a PR-24. Today, we have to hand them a $2,400 taser as a less lethal device. And that is a tip of an iceberg. When we look at the IT needs, we didn't really get a chance today to talk about some of the technology that is happening here in Manatee County. And trust me, it is happening in Manatee County. We are accessing things that help us do our job easier and quicker and help save lives. But these things cost a lot of money. And I think, and this is my forewarning to any of the folks sitting over here that do manage budgets and approve budgets, is that you're going to see over the next few years the bigger ask, right? You're going to see the need for more technology. It's more expensive technology, but that technology is keeping our officers safe. A vest 10 years ago cost about $400. Now they've made state-of-the-art body armor that protects my officers better, but it also costs twice as much. Recently in Bradenton, it started in Palmetto, thanks, Scott. We had a pursuit that came into our city, and it was, well, I know it was my crime, but I didn't know you were going to say that. But in the course of that, my folks trying to stop these folks who were hell-bent on committing more crimes, they were armed, they had body armor on, they were going into my community to wreak havoc, and my folks used their cars to stop them, right? I want them to do that every time, and one of yours too. 4 cars, just like that. I know that I have a city administrator who's going to go, now you're going to come asking for 4 more cars. Yeah, I am, because those 4 cars are better than 4 police officers, 4 bodies, right? None of my folks got hurt. None of my community members got hurt. The bad guy went to jail. And so if I have to sacrifice, car repair bills now are more and more and more all the time. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it right there. But that's a great question, and just to say that we appreciate everybody's support within law enforcement, and I think what you're going to see is bigger ask. I know eventually it's going to be coming from me. Look, I need more people, and look, I need greater technology, and I need to pay salaries so that people don't just want to keep bouncing around places. We want people who want to make their career here in Manatee County, because we want that commitment that goes along with that. And so, so stay tuned on that.
Yes, please give them all a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for what you do. We know it's not easy out there, but we are going to support you here in Manatee County. Thank you all for attending our lunch. Thank you, Chief Bevan, Chief of Bradenton Police Department. Thank you, Chief Tyler, Chief of Palmetto Police Department. And thank you, Sheriff Wells, our Manatee County Sheriff. Please give him another round of applause. Thank you to all my board members that are here today. Thank you also to our program committee. Our next lunch will be June 17th. We will be doing our 2021 legislation update, and then the next month will be our immigration. We invite you to become a corporate, nonprofit, or individual member. We are trying to get back to get back. So please become a member. Please invite someone to become a member. We will be moving forward in November with our Packed Glass celebration, and these are for our people that show the leadership of Packed Glass. We will be doing that nightly. We're going to move forward with it in her name, and if you are a member, you will have the opportunity to contribute names this year. So I will be taking nominations from all of my members for the different categories that we have as far as presidential, nonprofit, and all that. You'll be getting that information. Thank you to METV, Charles Clapsaddle, and the crew. We appreciate you. Please give them a round of applause. If you are interested in submitting a topic and speakers you would like to hear, email Tanya, our admin, at Manatee Tiger Bay. Please email her, and also if you're willing to become a member. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again, guys. I applaud you all for coming out to hear this information and supporting law enforcement. You have a great day. Thank you.